What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Do You Want More, a UFC stat show. I am your host, Monk, aka the Monkmatician, and this episode we're going to be focusing and reviewing all the statistics for the prelim fights on the UFC 265, headlined by Cyril Gane and Derek Lewis. Let's get right into it. First fight of the prelims. And if you missed the early prelim card, I just put that video out. That video is live, so make sure you click on that, give it a like, and give it a subscribe, and then you won't have to listen to me tell you to do it. Carolina, Kovalkiewicz against Jessica Penne. This is a strawweight fight. Kovalkiewicz is making her return. She has not fought in about a year and a half. She is 5'3", 64-inch reach compared to Jessica Penne, 5'5", 67-inch reach, so a little taller and longer there. Jessica Penne is about almost 3 years older than Karolina Kovalkiewicz, professional record, 12-6 for Kovalkiewicz. Here are some finishing numbers right under that. Pretty low. I guess you can't see my cursor. Now you can. Pretty low finishing numbers right there, as you can see. 12-6 professionally. She is 5-6 in the UFC. Jessica Penne, 13-6 professionally, 2-3 in the UFC. So both girls do have losing records in the UFC. Penne's finishing numbers are a bit better than Kovalkiewicz. She has been knocked out a little bit more. One more time, it looks like. Let's see. Almost over double the fight time for Karolina Kovalkiewicz, but the average fight time is about the same. Just over 13 and a half minutes for Karolina, just under 13 and a half for Jessica Penne. Ass whoop index, negative 5.31. And if you missed the first video, ass whoop index is a stat I created that just is self-explanatory. Do you whoop your opponent's ass in fights, or do you get your ass whooped? Higher the number is better, lower the number is worse. 0 is perfectly even. So we have two negative numbers here, minus 531 and minus 737. So even if you don't know what those numbers mean, look at the ranks here. 27th in the division, and you say, okay, well, how many people are in the division? Well, I currently have 31 strawweights in my database, so that's where you can see how those numbers all refer to each other. So if you don't know what the 5.31 is, look at the rank. If you don't know what the rank is, oh, it's 27th out of 31st. That's not a good number, especially in the division. On the other side, 737, so 28th out of 31. Power index, do you knock anybody down with your strikes? 0 on both sides. Chin index, the lower the number, the better. So it's the opposite of power. 0 chin index is good, and a chin index of anything other than 0 means you've been knocked down at least one time in your fights. So as Karolina has obviously been knocked down probably just once. We'll go on to some odds here. Karolina opens at minus 180. That has closed significantly. It's now minus 122. I should have jumped on that Jessica Penne line when I had the chance. It opened at plus 155. Now it's an even pick'em for Jessica Penne there. So I think I missed the boat on that one. I probably wouldn't be betting on this anyways, but if I was looking for some value, that's where I would have gotten it out of this fight. Plus 250 fight doesn't go. Minus 325 fight does go. So Vegas thinks Karolina plus 110 fighter wins by decision. I'm gonna have to tape this one a little more. Not sure I agree with that there. Some notable performances and some notable performances. If you want to take a look at that, they both got smashed, it looks like, by Jessica Andrade. Yeah, not good. Let's see, everybody else. All right, fight finishing data. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself on live video recording here. I guess it's not live if it's a recording, but you know what I'm saying. No finish wins for Karolina Kovalkiewicz in the UFC. 33% finish loss rate, 100% decision win rate. Same thing over here. Jessica Penne never finished a fight, never finished a win in her UFC career. 66% of her losses are finish losses, 100% decision win rate. There are the rest of the numbers there. Graphical analysis of those decisions that we just talked about. You see all this clusterfuck up here of all these numbers bunched up. That just means that they're all zeros. So pay no attention to the numbers behind the curtain. And we'll go on down to some actual numbers here. Striking data. Let's see. So, as I say in all my videos, left two columns are career volume numbers. I focus on the other three columns. Middle column, striking or accuracy and defense. Next column is volume landed, and last column is volume thrown. So Karolina Kowalkiewicz throws a ton, 13.3 significant strikes thrown per minute, lands only 5.27 for an accuracy of under 40. So not great there. Good volume numbers, accuracy's not good. So that tells me her arms get pretty tired, and if you tape the fights, as I will, you'll probably see that. 2.84 for Jessica Penne strikes landed, for a 35% accuracy, so even worse than Jessica Penne, but she does not throw near the volume that Kowalkiewicz does. Defensively, Kowalkiewicz gets hit with 5.65 strikes per minute. That's close to the most strikes in the division landed against at a 56% defense. So not great, but not terrible. Jessica Penne gets hit even more, over 6.1 significant strikes landed against per minute at a 46% defense. So even worse than Kowalkiewicz there. Both have a negative significant striking differential. Karolina minus 0.38. Jessica Penne just abysmal, second to last in the division. Negative 3.25 significant strikes landed per minute against, or no, not against, but differential. So that is very, very poor. Knockdown data, nothing for Penne. Kowalkiewicz has been knocked down one time, but in all that's a 0.1 knockdown against per 15. That's a pretty good number. So if you're going to get knocked down, that's the knockdown rate you want to have. Takedown data. Kowalkiewicz does not throw takedowns. 1 for 8, 12%. She does have a good takedown defense, though. Does have a good takedown defense. Has stuffed 37 out of 49 takedowns for a 75.5% takedown defense. Very, very good. Jessica Penne, a little bit better on the offensive side of takedown things. That was a very strange sentence. On the takedown side of offensive. Wow. Let's just scratch that. Reverse. Jessica Penne, much better offensively. 6 out of 34 takedowns, good for a 17.6% accuracy. Defensively, she stuffed 7 of 11, so nowhere near the volume as Karolina, but as a decent takedown defense of 63.6%. Not great, but not, you want to see that 70%, as we've talked about, but we're not there. Not quite. Takedown shooting rate, as we said, Karolina does not go for takedowns, 0.4%. She's a stand and striker fighter. Stand and strike fighter. There we go. I nailed it. I'll figure out this whole English thing, eventually. Maybe by the time I get about halfway through this video, I'll start putting words together to form sentences properly, and we'll get it figured out. So 6.27% takedown shooting rate for Jessica Penne. That is the 8th highest in the strawweight division. And then some differential numbers. Minus 1.09 for takedowns landed per 15 differential for Karolina. And then a positive, just barely, but it is positive, 0.45 takedowns per 15 for Jessica Penne. Control time. And Karolina gets dominated in this. Not much control time for her. Under 8.5%. She gets controlled just under 20%. Whereas Jessica Penne has a positive control time. 20% offensive control time, 13% defensive control time. So at least her differential is positive there. Get up time for Karolina, 35 seconds. Get up time for Jessica Penne, almost 48 seconds. Hold down time, 94.88 seconds for Karolina. So if she does get you on the ground, historically, she's going to hold you there for quite a while. Whereas Jessica Penne, only 25 seconds. That is toward the bottom of the division. Control time activity rate, significant difference. Like I just said, if Karolina is able to get control of you, or control of her opponent, I should say, she's going to put in the work, it looks like. 24.66, that is good for 3rd in the division. Whereas Jessica Penne, a 6.96 control time activity rate, that's good for 20th. So you see the big gap there, and you see why. So I'm looking forward to looking at that when I tape this fight. Submission and reversal data. 1 submission attempted for Karolina. She was unsuccessful. 3 submission attempts against her. 2 were unsuccessful. 1 did get the finish. Nothing at all for Jessica Penne. She does have a reversal, as does Karolina, and a reversal against. Let's get into the advanced significant striking data. What is jumping out at me? I'm not going to go through all these numbers, as I said in my last video. I'm just kind of seeing what jumps out at me out of these numbers. And it's kind of run-of-the-mill numbers for the most part. Pretty average for Karolina. below average, well below average for Jessica Penne in her accuracy and in her defense. In fact, there's only 2 numbers where she's even top 10. That's clinch striking defense, ground striking defense. Everywhere else, she is, towards the bottom of the division. High 20s, low 30s. Strikes landed per minute. Some decent volume out of Carolina here. Decent volume, significantly less for Jessica Penne. And then the strikes thrown, as you can see, it's the same thing. We did talk about Carolina's volume thrown before. So as you would expect, that is a very high number. Head strikes thrown per minute, body strikes thrown per minute, etc. Let's get down into some percentages. I love these numbers. Let's see. Carolina, 79.06% of all the significant strikes she's thrown are to the head. 13.69% to the body, and 7.25% to the legs. Whereas Jessica Penne, 75.8% strikes, significant strikes thrown to the head, 20% of her strikes, almost 21%, thrown to the body, and then significantly less leg strikes there. So she does like to diversify her strikes up a bit more than Carolina, but they both do a pretty good job of it, and that's what I like to see. I never like to see just headhunter guys or ladies, with exception, but it tends not to go your way all the time if you're just going for the head. So I like to see that diversity there. And these are the graphical analysis of what we just talked about. So if you like to look at graphs more than just the numbers, take a look at the graphs here, and you can get the same information. Last 5 fights. So for the first time on this card, someone has more than 5 fights in the UFC, so we can actually look at this. Looks like Jessica Penne is getting the better of her on the ground and control time, but striking wise, we got Carolina at 5.41 strikes landed per minute. Still has the volume at 45%. These numbers are pretty much the same as they were up there. Gets outstruck by even more than her career average, 6.92 with a 56% defense there. She has been knocked down 1 time in her last 5 fights. And then all the takedown and control time numbers all go to Jessica Penne, and they're not even that great. 17.6% accuracy, 0% accuracy for Carolina. An okay takedown defense at 63, even worse, 53 over here. And then the control time, 21% here, 7%. So not great, not great. And then we see the differences over the last 5. Carolina has a negative significant striking per minute differential. She has a minus takedown differential, minus control time differential. Not good numbers. Jessica Penne, a huge minus takedown significant striking differential, but then positive numbers the rest of the way for the most part. And these numbers actually are going to be the same for Jessica Penne in her career, because she does only have 5 UFC fights. And once you get past that, then you'll see some differentiation in the numbers. For instance, Carolina, career AWI, ass whoop index, minus 5.31. In her last 5 fights, however, she has doubled that, and not in a good way. Negative 10.13 ass whoop index. Power index is 0, and chin index compared to her career is doubled at 0.23. And then you get to see for the first time how these graphs are going to go. Basically, I take a couple of categories, 8 categories to be specific, and I put them up against each other, up against the fighter and their opponents. It's basically, we'll go into it here. Significant striking accuracy, last 5 versus career. She's a positive 0.85%. All that means is that over her last 5, her significant striking accuracy is 5.85% higher than her significant striking accuracy has been in her career. So I'm just kind of comparing. It's basically, if I don't want to say if a fighter's getting worse or better in a category, but you can kind of see if a fighter's improving, trending up, maybe trending down in that specific category. So Karolina Kowalkiewicz has been trending up in her striking accuracy and her strikes landed per minute. So that's crazy for such a high volume fighter. She's increased that volume even more. Everywhere else she's trending down. Her takedown accuracy, her takedown defense has dipped 22% over her last 5 compared to her career. So as you can see, a lot of these graphs are pointing downwards. You do not want to see that. You want to see the upwards momentum. We'll get into some strength of schedule here. Let's see. Opponent's win percentage, 71. Strength of schedule. I This is not obviously the same number as opponent's win percentage. I break this down just like the BCS does for NCAA football. So I come up, do all my calculations, and I come up with 72.03 strength of schedule there. So you want to be in the 70s. 75 is about average. Anything above that, you're looking pretty good. Anything below is obviously poor. 60 strength of victory. So how tough are the guys that you're beating? Not tough in Karolina Kowalkiewicz' case. And strength of defeat, how tough are the people that are beating you? And they are a little bit tougher for Karolina's sake. That is a good thing. She does have a significantly better strength of schedule than Jessica Penne does. I mean, look at that strength of victory. Jessica Penne's beating up some cans. Loopy, Randa. Come on now. And these are the last 5 fights. You guys can look at all of the numbers there. See what you might want to see out of that. I took all, in my opinion, the most important numbers and put them in here, like salary. So you do have a salary history if they go back that far. DraftKings started sometime around 2017-ish. So if it's blank, that means I don't have a salary for them. But I also have their DraftKings points, their value that they got, and their individual fight ass whoop index. So all that stuff figured out for you. Raw DraftKings points is just your DraftKings points, but without bonus points, just to see what your output is. So you guys can definitely pause it, take a look at that. I'll even scroll up so you can see the last 2 fights for Kowalkiewicz over my big, bald, beautiful head. No, it's beautiful. You don't have to tell me. We'll go down to the graphs here, and since this is the first fight of the video, I will break these down real quick. Solid blue line is our fighter. Solid orange line is our fighter's opponents. Dashed blue line and dashed orange line, those are trend lines. I don't really need to explain that, but how have they been doing over the past 5 fights, going down, going up, improving, etc. And then green line, solid green line is our fighter's average for that category. Solid yellow line is our fighter's opponent's average for that category. So you want the blue, solid blue above the solid orange. You want your fighter to be trending upwards, and you want the fighter's opponents to be trending downwards, ideally. And you want that solid green above the solid yellow. So pretty much everything I said is the exact opposite in this graph right here. Kowalkiewicz has been getting dominated on the strikes landed per minute and the strikes landed against per minute, which is weird because she has such a high volume. But look at that. Every single one of her fights in the last 5, with the exception of the Herrig fight, she has been outstruck by her opponent. She is trending down volume-wise, which how could you keep up that kind of volume anyways? We'll go on to takedowns. Nothing at all. It's a fat 0 for Karolina, and her opponent's trending way up there. Same with control time. Not much to be had. She is trending up, which is a good thing to see, but you're still in single digits of percentages of control time, whereas her opponents are a whole 10% above that, trending up steeper than she is and averaging much more than she is in her fights. We'll go over here to Penne. An even worse graph, it looks like, for striking. Better for takedowns, although she is trending down. She had a ton against Randa Marcos, apparently 4, and then hasn't done much since then, but she's still above her opponent's average. And then control time, same thing, although in the loopy fight, she did get some of that back. So that is trending down, but in her last fight, it's trending up. But her average is above her opponent, which is really what we want to see when it comes to control time. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the first fight of the prelims. Let's get into the next one, which is going to be Alonzo Manafield against Ed Herman. This is going to be at a light heavyweight fight. Alonzo Manafield, 6 feet tall, 76-inch reach. Ed Herman's going to be the bigger, well, by height and reach anyways, bigger guy. 6 foot 1, 77-inch reach. Let's see. And Ed Herman, almost 41 years old. Cannot believe it, but I believe he's on a 3-fight win streak, so we'll have to look at that. Alonzo Mendefield, let's see, 7 years younger than Ed Herman at 33. Professionally, Alonzo is 10-2, has a fantastic finish rate. 91.67% of his fights don't see the distance. 80% of his wins have come by KO. The other 20% have come by submission. So he's finished every single one of his wins. He has lost by knockout 1 time. So he does have that 50% rate there. He is 3-2 in the UFC. Ed Herman, 27-14, 1 no contest, 73% don't go to the distance. 51% of his wins have been by submission. 42% of his losses have been by submission. He has been knocked out and knocked a couple people out as well. He is 13-11 in the UFC. One no contest there. So a significant difference in total fight time. Average fight time is a bit different. Our ass whoop index, 4.75 for Manafield, which is good for 13th out of 36. And Ed Herman, 2.64, so a little bit less, 22 out of 36. Our power index, significantly better for Manafield, 0.98 to 0.52. Our Chindex, worse for Manafield, however, 0.77 compared to 0.65 for Ed Herman. Let's get into some odds. Opening line for a Manafield, minus 140. Currently at a minus 240, 244 average line that I found. That is a huge gap. Ed Herman opened plus 120, sitting at plus 197 right now. Fights minus 240, does not go to decision. Plus 190 does go to decision. And the highest, number one highest fighter to win inside the distance prop is Alonzo Manafield at a minus 125. Notable performances there. At least three. His top three wins, Alonzo Manafield, are 3 first-round victories. Herman has 2 first-round victories and a round 2 submission win to top that off. Let's go down to some fight finishing data. Like I mentioned, 100% of Manafield's wins have been by finish. Half of his losses have been by finish. Let's see. Ed Herman, 69.23% of his wins have been by finish. 4 knockouts, 5 subs, and he's been knocked out 3 times, been subbed 3 times. So these graphs are a little bit better to look at. Now that we have some more fight history here, let me separate that a little bit for you. And yeah, it's like Ed Herman has got a finish in almost every single way, just no draws. Everything else he's got a little bit of each method there. So you can kind of see a couple different graphs to look at as to how the fights have finished. Striking data, look at this. Look at this. 3.13 significant strikes landed per minute for Manafield at a 48.57% accuracy. Almost all of Ed Herman's, and in fact, every single one except for one of the stats we're going to be specifically speaking about, Ed Herman has the advantage. 3.32, he lands more volume, lands a higher accuracy. Manafield gets hit more, 3.99 strikes landed against per minute at a 45.6% defense. Ed Herman, 3.35 strikes landed against per minute, 43% defense. That's the one number that's worse than Manafield here. But he throws more, he hits more, he gets hit less, and he has a better accuracy. And his striking differential is better. Both have a negative striking differential, though. Negative 0.86 for Manafield and negative 0.02, 0.03 for Ed Herman. So right there, right at that 0 point. But both are negative. So according to just the numbers, Ed Herman is the better striker. So we're going to have to tape this. I would assume, yeah, not assume. Alonzo Manafield definitely has the power advantage. KO or knockdown data, 1 knockdown for Manafield. So not as powerful as I would have thought, but he doesn't have a ton of fight time either. That's good for 461 knockdowns per 15. And he has been knocked down once as well. Ed Herman in his career, 4 knockdowns, good for a 0.26 knockdown per 15 rate. Been knocked down 5 times, 0.33 knockdown against per 15. Takedown data, 1 takedown out of 5 landed for Manafield. That's good for 20%. He has stuffed 14 out of 15 takedowns, though. 93.33% takedown defense. That is good for 3rd in the division. Ed Herman, 34 out of 70, so 48.57% takedown accuracy. That's pretty good. 9th overall in the division. Lands 2.21 takedowns per 15 minutes. Let's see. His defense, not great, though. Let's see. He is stuffed 38 out of 63. I believe that's 38. Maybe I can't do math properly. No, that's right. 38 out of 63 takedowns for 60% defense. His takedown shooting rate, 4.56, so pretty high in the division compared to 2.38 from Alonzo Manafield. Excuse me. A takedown differential of 0.0 for Manafield and a positive 0.59 for Ed Herman. Takedown per 15 differential. Let's go down to control time, where Manafield has a I was going to say great, but we'll say pretty good control time. 37.69%, good for 5th in the division compared to 30.51 for Ed Herman. Manafield gets controlled just under 13% of his fight, and Ed Herman gets controlled for 31% of his fights. So not great there. 16.87 get up time in seconds for Manafield. Very good in the division. Ed Herman takes a bit longer, 68.86 when he's down. Average get up time there. Hold down time, another fantastic number for Alonzo Manafield, 147.2 seconds compared to 60, so over double of Ed Herman there. Control time activity rate, pretty good number for Ed Herman, 9.75 or 0.78 rather, compared to Manafield 5.46. Submission and reversal data. Manafield has attempted 1 sub and he did pull it off for 100% rate. Ed Herman, 27.78 submission success rate, 85% submission defense rate. So he has been submitted a couple of times there. I believe that's 3 times. And Ed Herman with a higher submission attempt rate as well. Actually, that's a 1.17. That is pretty high for the division. Advanced significant striking data. What is jumping out to me here? 69.35% head striking defense for Manafield. 100% leg striking accuracy, only 8 of 8. But still, that's a hundo. Everywhere else, let's see, Ed Herman's pretty much average everywhere. Average to below average. Same with Manafield in a couple of cases, but a few of his numbers are definitely higher than Ed Herman's. Let's get into some percentages. 90% of the strikes Manafield throws are to the head. So that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. This is a head hunter. When we're around that 88 to 90 some percent or higher, definitely head hunter there. Compared to Ed Herman, 77% strikes thrown to the head. 16% to the body, only 6% to the body for Manafield. And then Ed Herman has doubled up the leg strike percentage as well. 3.5 to 7. So that's kind of what you get there. Go to the distance, clinch, and ground strikes as well. And there are the graphical representations of all those numbers. Here's what I'm taking from this. You don't hit Alonzo Manafield on the ground. That's what stands out to me. Last 5 fights, we can get into it. There won't be anything in the graph for Manafield, but we can get into the Ed Herman side of things. Above, we saw that Ed Herman dominated the striking, but here it's a little bit different in the last 5. Manafield has better accuracy. He does not throw as much volume, but he gets hit almost a strike less, 3.99 to 4.88. His defense is also just a hair better, and he has been knocked down one less time than Ed Herman. We get into some takedown numbers, 30% to 20%, not great. We see that 93% again. Excuse me, only 35% takedown defense for Ed Herman in his last 5. Control time, 37.69 to 15.3. We've got a bunch of negative numbers here from Ed Herman compared to his career. And Alonzo Manafield has definitely improved his control time numbers. That's what stands out to me there. The ass whoop index has gone way down for Ed Herman. Career, 264. In his last 5, 3.37. Power index down from 0.52 to 0.42. Chindex up from 0.65 to 0.67. So has gotten he's slowing down, Ed Herman, as you could probably guess, because he's over 40 years old. Our graphs are empty for Manafield because he only has 5 fights and not more. We can compare Ed Herman here. He's only trending up in 2 categories: significant striking defense and his significant strikes landed per minute. Need to drink some tea there or something. Everywhere else, he's very low. He's dropped 19% his takedown accuracy in his last 5. Takedown defense, minus 24.6. I mean, not great. He's dropped a significant strike, or he gets hit with a significant strike and a half. That was such a weird way to say that. I say shit so weird sometimes. You can see what that is. Bad numbers here. Strength of schedule. Let's just move on instead of trying to explain that again. We have an okay looking strength of schedule from Alonzo Manafield, not great at all. And it is significantly better than Ed Herman's strength of schedule. Ed Herman's strength of schedule is terrible. Terrible. Last 5. You can take a look at these last 5 here. I will scroll up so you can see the Manafield, Craig, and just numbers there. But each guy is 3-2 in the last 5. I cannot believe Ed Herman is on a 5-fight or 3-fight win streak. What is side? My goodness. 3-fight win streak. I mean, he's not fought anyone. Mike Rodriguez. Let's see. Ibragimov is not even in the UFC. Patrick Cummins. No offense to Patrick Cummins, but not a world beater there. He lost to Jean Vellante. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here, guy? So yeah. Take a look at those numbers for the Alonzo Manafield side if you want. And then we'll get to our graph. Not a great graph for Manafield. Trending down. Opponent average is better. Not great. Takedowns, definitely. He landed a couple in the Fabio Charant fight, or at least one. Maybe it just ended quickly. But he did land a takedown recently, so maybe he's improving his takedown game. That would be good for this fight. And then control time, trending way up. Average is above opponent's average. Excuse me, very good stuff. Ed Herman, striking, not good. He is trending up, but his opponent is trending up and at a steeper rate as well. Takedowns, he's trending up. His opponent is trending down, but he still has a lot of work to do. He's getting smashed in that category. 1.5 takedowns per 15. Let's see. And then control time, he's also getting smashed 2-1 in that. He is trending up, and his opponents are trending down. But again, he has some work to do there. All right, guys. That was that fight. Let us keep it moving. Next, Vince Morales. If I could type /spell, and that's going to bother me. So I'm going to have to fix that. Vince Morales against Draco Rodriguez. This is going to be at bantamweight. So Vince Morales, his last fight at least was at featherweight, and he is moving down to bantamweight for this one. 5'7", 70-inch reach for Morales. 5'8", 69-inch reach for Draco. They are 5.5 years apart in age, with Morales being older. He is 9-5 with a 71% fight doesn't go to the distance rate. 55% career win by knockout rate. Got a couple subs in there. Has been knocked out and has been subbed as well twice. He's 1-3 in the UFC. Draco Rodriguez 7-2 professionally. 89% of his fights don't go to the distance. 28 wins by KO. 57% of his wins are by sub. Both of his losses have been by KO, and he is 0-1 in the UFC. Not much fight time for Draco here at all. Minus 5.13 ass whooping index for Vince Morales. Minus 47.24 ass whooping index for Draco Rodriguez. So, needless to say, he got his ass whooped by Amin Zahabi in the first round in his one and only fight. Power index 0.49 for Morales and a 0.9 Chindex, so not a great number there. 0 power index for Draco Rodriguez, 11.11 Chindex for Draco Rodriguez. Not good. Second to last there. Why this is red, but opening line, Vince Morales opened at minus 180. It's now an even money for him. Draco Rodriguez opened at plus 155 and is now at minus 119. So this line has flipped. Might just keep waiting for it to let it flip here. I don't know about all this. Some notable performances. Fight finishing data, not much to talk about. One fight for Draco Rodriguez. 33% of Vince Morales' losses have been finished. So he did get finished one time, knocked out in the UFC. Here are the graphs for that. A bunch of not much to look at, but a few things. Let's get into the data. And I'm going to have to go through my rankings here. I don't know why these two are different now. Oh, well, something I'll have to do after this. Just focus on the numbers, not the colors, yeah? Vince Morales, 3.76 significant strikes landed per minute at a 36% accuracy. No bueno there. And pretty much the same numbers here, but just worse. 3.57 strikes landed per minute at a 33% accuracy for Draco Rodriguez. Defensively, Vince Morales gets outstruck. 4 strikes landed against per minute at a 54% defense, whereas Draco 2.9 strikes landed against per minute, which is good, but at an 18% defense. Not good at all. Obviously, there's not much volume there, so those are going to change drastically. Significant striking differential, it is negative for Morales, negative 0.29 compared to a positive 0.65 for Draco Rodriguez. Knockdown data, 1 for Vince Morales, 2.75. Knockdown per 15 rate. He has been knocked down twice, which is a 0.55 knockdown against rate. Good for 43rd in the division. No knockdowns for Draco, and he has been knocked down. So that's why we get such a huge number here with only like 11 strikes against or something like that. Takedown data, 0 for 0 for both guys. No takedown attempts against for Draco Rodriguez. Morales has stuffed 4 of 7 for a 57% takedown rate. Like I said, neither one shoots at all in their fights. Control time, not much. 1% compared to 0. 6% against compared to 5% against. We're just going to skip right over that. Submission data, nothing at all. No reversals. Skipping right over that. What stands out to me about significant striking data? Lots of low numbers here for Draco Rodriguez, but we're definitely going to have to tape this fight because we have no information on him. We have a very small sample size, one UFC fight at like 13 minutes. So we're not going to pay attention to any of that. What jumps out to me for Vince Morales? Nothing special. He's got a lot of numbers, a little bit better than average, especially on the defensive side. Offensive side is about average, not too great though. This head striking accuracy, 29%, not great. Striking percentages, all right. Both guys like to split things up pretty evenly. 81% of the significant strikes that Vince Morales has thrown have been to the head, 13% to the body, 6% to the legs, and we see the same here on Rodriguez's side, but with the legs and the body numbers flipped. There's the graphs for that one. Then the last 5, we can skip that as well. Strength of schedule, dominated by Vince Morales. And it's not even that good of a strength of schedule. I mean, the strength of victory is poor. The rest is decent. But Draco Rodriguez, very poor across the board. Strength of defeat is okay, but not as good as Morales there. Morales is 1-3 in his last 4 fights in the UFC. So he is going to have to show, I think he's going to have to show something here to avoid getting put on the chopping block. And then lastly for this fight, our graphs. Not looking great. The striking for Vince Morales, his average is low. He's not trending up as much as his opponents. Takedowns, poor. Opponents trending down, but still very poor there. Same with control time. So not good graphs for Vince Morales. Not much to look at for Draco. His striking is better, but other than that, there's no takedowns at all. And the control time, as we discussed, is pretty low, but he is still getting beat. All right, guys, and now we have come to the final fight of the prelim card, which is going to be Bobby Green and Rafael Fizzyev. Fizzyev? I'm going to say Fizzyev. Because Fizzyev doesn't sound right. Bobby Green, 5'10", 71-inch reach, orthodox fighter. Fizzyev, and I just did it. Fizzyev, 5'8", 71-inch reach. Bobby Green is going to be the older fighter by 6.5 years here. Let's see, 27, 11, and 1 is Green professionally. He's got a 53.8 fight doesn't go to the distance percentage. Does have a 30% win rate or knockout rate in his wins, 33% sub win rate. And when he loses, 18% are by knockout and 18% are by submission. He is 8-6-1 in the UFC. Fizzyev, 9-1 professionally, 80% fight doesn't go to the distance. Career wins, 66 have been by knockout, 11% by submission, and his losses, 100% of his losses, all one of them, have been by knockout. Average fight time, 13.4 for Bobby Green, 8.8 for Rafael, 6.93 AWI for Fizzyev, 5.11 for Bobby Green. So pretty good numbers from both guys. Fizzyev obviously with a better number. Power index 0.19 for Bobby Green, Chindex 0.44, so towards the lower end of the lightweight division there. Whereas Fizzyev is a 1.14 power index and a perfect Chindex at 0. Fight odds, opening odds, Bobby Green plus 125. He is currently plus 252, and I did get these numbers about an hour or two ago, so that might be even worse now. I did see Fizzyev at about a minus 350 at one point, but that is starting to come down. He opened at minus 145. He's currently at minus 328. This fight is plus 120, doesn't go. Minus 150 does go. And then notable performances there. If you'd like to take a look, fight finishing data. 25% of Bobby Green's wins have been by finish. 16% of his losses have been by finish. So not huge finish numbers there. Fizzyev, same thing. Offensively, only 33% of his wins have been by finish. So just one finish in his last three fights. He's been finished one time, as we talked about. There are the graphs for that. If you would like to look at the very colorful graphs that aren't too colorful at all. Striking data. Here we go. Bobby Green, 5.2 significant strikes landed per minute. That's good for 12th in the division. He lands those strikes at a 51% accuracy. Whereas Fizzyev, 4.92, so pretty close, strikes landed per minute at an even better accuracy at 57.95%. And he obviously does throw less than Bobby Green does. Green, 3.4 strikes landed against per minute, 63% defense. Fizzyev, 3.91 landed against per minute at 56% defense. So Green, a little bit better defensively than Fizzyev. Striking differential, 1.79 per minute for Bobby Green, and a plus 1.01 per minute for Fizzyev. So both positive numbers there, with Green winning that battle. Knockdown data. Bobby Green in his career has been knocked down 3 times, with 2 knockdowns 4. Whereas Fizzyev has 2 knockdowns 4 and has never been knocked down. 0.84 knockdown per 15 rate there, compared to 0.15 for Bobby Green. So Fizzyev seemingly the more powerful fighter. Takedown data, Bobby Green, 43% accuracy, 1.49 takedowns landed per 15. And then Fizzyev, 0.84 takedowns landed per 15 at a 50% accuracy. Defensively, both guys are really solid. Bobby Green above that 70% defensive rate that we like to see, but a perfect 100% takedown defense for Rafael Fizzyev. 0 of 16 his opponents are taking him down. Takedown shooting rate, 2.26 for Bobby Green, 1.32 for Fizzyev, so he does not look into takedown as much as Green is. Opponent takedown shooting rate, they sure do try with Fizzyev, 5%. 5%, that is pretty high, compared to 3.44 for Bobby Green. Control time data. Bobby Green wins this battle, 18% control time, 11% control time against. We are positive for Fizzyev as well, though. Just under 13% control time for, with only 3.9% control time against. So I shouldn't say Bobby Green wins this battle. I think it's pretty close. The differential, in fact, is Fizzayev's, 8.78 on the plus side for Fizzyev. Let's see. Get up time, 21.47 for Bobby Green. That's pretty good, 15 out of 64. However, look at that, Fizzyev, 5.19 get up time in seconds. Good for 4th. Hold down time, 47 seconds. 67.5 for Fizzyev. So even better. Control time, activity rate, good numbers from both of these guys. Right about above average. 10.1 for Bobby Green and a 9.11 for Fizzyev. Submission numbers. Bobby Green is 1 for 4 on submissions thrown up and gotten. Completed, I should say, and 3 people have tried to submit him, and they have all failed. No submission attempts against or for Fizzyev. No reversals either. 4 reversals for Bobby Green and 1 reversal against. What do we see in the advanced significant striking data? Better than average numbers everywhere, it seems like, on the accuracy and defense for Bobby Green. Top 10, top 20 in a lot of these numbers here. Same with the volume numbers, right at average or above in most categories. Whereas Fizzyev, we're a little bit lower, I think, everywhere for the most part. Some decent numbers here and there, especially on the defensive side, or the offensive side, rather. The volume per minute numbers are fantastic. 1.46 strikes landed per minute to the body. 1.1 leg kicks landed. Distance strikes landed, we're looking good. So pretty good there. Advanced significant striking percentages. All right, we love to see it. You know it. 66.99% of the strikes Bobby Green throws are to the head, 20% to the body, 13 to the legs. For Fizzyev, 58% to the head, 26 to the body, which is good for second in the division, and 15.5 to the legs, eighth in the division. So how does Bobby Green take these strikes? Body strikes landed against, a little bit better than half, or than average, I should say. Leg strikes, he gets a lot of leg strikes landed on him. So let's look for that. Some graphs here. Hardly any ground strikes landed for Fizzyev at all. Most are from the distance. A few more for Bobby Green there when he does get the takedown. Fight history. Let's see. Last 5. We can definitely... Well, all we have is really for Bobby Green, because Rafael Fizzyev only has 4 fights. Bobby Green looking great. In his last 5, he is improving. He has a better significant strikes landed per minute. Takes less strikes per minute by a strike and over a strike and a half. Control time is better. Takedown accuracy is better. 3.03 significant strikes landed per minute differential over his last 5. Positive takedown landed per 15. Positive control time. Positive reversals. Positive DraftKings. I know we don't talk about DraftKings on this podcast. That's my other one. But yeah, looking great. Career ass whip index, 5.11. Over his last 5, he's doubled it. 10.11. Power index has gone up from 0.19 to 0.25. And that chindex from 0.44 all the way to 0. Has not been knocked down in his last 5 fights. Look at these numbers. Improving everywhere almost. I mean, 2.77% significant striking accuracy improvement. Defensive improvement. Takedown accuracy improvement, takedown landed per 15 improvement by a whole takedown. These are great numbers. Great numbers from Bobby Green. Significant, or strength of schedule, I should say. It's an okay strength of schedule for Green. Much better for Fizzyev. And by much better, I mean by a couple of points for the most part, but still better. Closer to the 75 mark. That strength of defeat is looking pretty good as well. Whereas the strength of victory is under 70 for Bobby Green. So he is 3-5 in his last 5 fights in the UFC. 3-4 for Fizzyev, or 3 and I don't know why I'm saying 3-5. 3 out of 5. 3-2 and 3-1. So there are the numbers there for the fight history. If you'd like to take a look at that. Then we got our graphs. Graphs for Bobby Green looking fantastic. We're trending up in every single one. Our blue is above the orange and our green is above the yellow. We are doing fantastic. And in fact, his opponent's control time is even trending down. Fantastic. Great graphs from Fizzyev as well. Trending up everywhere. Opponent's striking is trending up, but it's not to the volume of Fizzayev's. So we're not really too worried about that. And with Bobby Green's power rate, it's not great, so we're not really thinking that probably. But we still do have to do our fight tape on this one. Control time looking good. Takedowns looking great as well. So we got some good looking trend lines from both of these guys. Good looking graphs. So, all right, everybody. That is going to do it for this episode of Do You Want More? Focused on the prelim fights for UFC 265. If you stuck with me for this whole thing, thank you so much. You are full of stat knowledge. You have it all. Just it's probably pushed out your social security number. It's pushed out your kid's birthday. Like, you don't need that shit anyways. Like, you need to win money this weekend. So you are full of stat knowledge. Now that you have that at your disposal, go do your fight tape. Go watch some fights. It's a lot of fun. If you watch this, you like fights. So watch fights. This is meant to be a companion piece to your fight study. So do both things. Take money from your bookies and put it in your wallet. Put it in that bank account that you cannot remember the account number for anymore. And guys, let's have some fun watching fights this weekend. Let's get some money. Have a good one. See you on the next one.